Gene Hackman has died, but he didn't just leave a huge fortune behind, he also left a mystery that maybe no one wants to be solved. There are strange clues, missing documents, an old will from 2005 that Hackman never updated even though he was married to Betsy Arakawa for 30 years, and most mysteriously, a lost diary that people say Hackman wrote about everything from his obsessions to the dark side of Hollywood and the secrets he knew but didn't dare. If it gets into the wrong hands, this isn't the whole truth, this is just my point of view. What's about to happen might make you question everything you thought you knew about Gene Hackman. The truth always has two sides. Chapter 1, A Hollywood Legend's Last Bow, Santa Fe, New Mexico. A peaceful morning in the dry desert where the sun shines on quiet rooftops. But at the home of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, that silence had a different meaning. It wasn't the aide neighbor. A woman in her 70s was the first person to notice something was wrong. "Ms., I haven't seen Gene for days," she told a friend over the phone. That's not like him at all. Hackman had been retired from acting for a long time, but he still liked to walk around the neighborhood and talk to people, and every once in a while he'd drive to the nearest shop for a newspaper and coffee. But this time his door was shut, his car was still, and no one had seen him or his wife. Unease grew until a family friend decided to call the police. When the villa's door swung open, a stifling air rushed out. The scene inside left those who were there stunned. There were no signs of chaos or violence, but the complete stillness sent chills down their spines. Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa lay there on their familiar bed, as if they had fallen into a deep sleep that no one could wake them from. News spread like wildfire in Hollywood, where Hackman had once been a star. One of the most famous actors of the 20th century, known for roles like Popey Doyle in The French Connection and Little Bill Daggett in Unforgiven, had died suddenly. But what made the story even stranger was that within 24 hours of the news spreading, Hackman's family asked that the autopsy report and any other investigation documents not be made public. This was an unusual move that even suspicious journalists, eager to find the truth right away, found strange. People have asked why Hackman's family would want to hide information. Was there something they didn't want the public to know? The more you look into it, the stranger it seems. Legal records show Hackman signed his will in 2005 when he was 75 years old. In it, he left his entire estate, worth an estimated $80 million, to Betsy Arakawa, the woman who had been with him for over 30 years and been his loyal love. Betsy wasn't a public figure. She avoided the press and had almost cut off her relationship with him. Betsy had ties to the entertainment world that her late husband used to rule, but when she died before Hackman, inheritance laws meant that everything Hackman had left to her would go back to the Hackman Trust. The question then is who really controls this trust. Hackman's direct heirs are his 3 children, from his first marriage to Faye Maltz, Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie. However, none of them showed up right after the incident or said anything about claiming their father's estate. Oddity. When a married couple dies, the question is who gets the property. In this case, Betsy died first, so she left everything to the Gene Hackman Trust. He outlives her, so he theoretically inherits from Betsy into his trust, and then when he dies, his trust goes to whoever the beneficiaries are. But no one knows who the real beneficiaries are of the Hackman Trust because it is not in any public legal records or inheritance proceedings, even though that's how the will should have been done. There are a lot of theories about what happened as the investigation goes deeper. Some people think Hackman changed his will in his last years, but the updated papers have been hidden away. Others wonder if an unseen hand could have changed his entire fortune. The next question is what really happened inside that Villa Santa Fe. People who live there aren't easily fooled. They notice strange things. Some say they heard strange noises coming from Hackman's house the night before, but no one knows for sure what they were. A person who often walked around the area at night said she saw Hackman's room lights flashing in a strange way around 11 p.m. But these are just rumors. There is no proof, no clear witnesses, and most importantly, no signs of outside intrusion. The police found no signs of violence, but that doesn't mean there isn't something hidden below the surface. As night falls over Santa Fe, the story of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa is just beginning. A Hollywood legend has died, but what's behind that villa's door may hold more secrets than we ever thought possible. One question still remains: what really happened that night? Chapter 2, A Will Wrapped in Shadows. Gene Hackman was a famous actor who played many interesting characters in thrillers, but maybe his own life story has the most exciting turns. When news of his and Betsy Arakawa's death spread, people weren't just shocked. They were drawn into a maze of unsolved mysteries. The biggest mystery is who will get Hackman's $80 million estate. The most recent legal document that has been found is the will he signed in 2005, 20 years before he died at age 75, with most of his acting career behind him. He and Betsy lived quietly in Santa Fe. In his will, Hackman left everything to Betsy Arakiwa, which makes sense since they had been together since 1991. However, Betsy died before Hackman, so if she was the only heir, her death meant that Hackman got the estate back. What makes things more complicated is the Hackman Trust, a financial entity he set up to manage his wealth. Under property and inheritance rules, when Hackman died, his trust would go to the people named in his will. The problem is that no one knows for sure who the beneficiaries are. Usually in high-profile inheritance cases, assets are given to a spouse or children in a clear order, but here there's no public information about who will get the estate. A trusts and estates lawyer that was interviewed said that trusts are usually part of probate proceedings, at least in California. But here we don't see anything public that's unusual. This means that when someone dies with a trust, the list of beneficiaries isn't made public. Probate, but Hackman's estate hasn't been opened or any legal papers have been filed to clarify how the money will be split, and the family seems determined to keep it that way. This raises a lot of questions. If Hackman didn't update his will after 2005, who gets the money now that Betsy is dead? Are his 3 children from his first marriage, Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie, supposed to get it? If not them, who controls this fortune? Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie Hackman are Jean's children from her first marriage to Hackman's first wife, Faye Maltz, lasted from 1956 to 1986, almost 30 years before he met Betsy. Unlike many Hollywood families, Hackman's children have never sought the spotlight. They've lived quietly away from the noise of the industry. There are rumors that Gene wasn't close to his kids. Some sources say he spent most of his career making movies, which caused a rift with them when he married Betsy. There were also rumors that she took over the family's finances, which would have further distanced Hackman from his children if Hackman didn't change his will after she died, 2005, to include his kids. Why wasn't he updating it? Did he just want to leave everything to Betsy without a backup plan? Did he think his money was safe in the Hackman Trust and didn't need to be changed? Or was there another reason that only he and Betsy knew about that he wasn't updating it? It's not just the old will that makes things confusing. The Hackman Trust itself is a mystery. Trusts are supposed to protect assets, speed up legal processes, and make sure that wealth is distributed as planned, but there is no record of the Hackman Trust anywhere in the public domain. Some sources suggest that it was changed several times in Hackman's later years, but those changes were never made public. Another legal expert said that it's strange that we don't know who the trust beneficiaries are. In a normal case, this information would have come to light by now. This creates more questions. Did someone change the Hackman Trust documents without anyone else knowing? Did Betsy change something before she died that left Hackman out? The truth about Gene Hackman's estate is that everything about it is shrouded in mystery. He hasn't updated his will in almost 20 years, the Hackman Trust isn't clear, and the family is trying to hide all documents related to the estate. This has led to a lot of doubt. The $80 million estate may already have a buyer, but is it his children, a secret charity, or someone else pulling the strings? The answer is probably buried in the documents the Hackman family is hiding. One thing is for sure, this silence can't last forever, and when the Hackman Trust secrets are revealed, the truth may be better than any movie he ever starred in. Chapter 3, The Forbidden Diary. A man's secrets die with him unless they are written down. During his long and successful life, Gene Hackman embodied the ideal Hollywood gentleman. He was a gifted actor, a shy person, and someone who avoided the spotlight. But since his death, the mysteries surrounding his life have only grown. A reliable source dropped the bombshell that Hackman kept a personal diary. This wasn't just any notebook, it was said to be a record of his deepest thoughts about life, his career, and even his strange obsessions with Hollywood and the people closest to him. The catch? The diary has been lost, according to an anonymous source. Gene Hackman used to write down his thoughts over the years. Some close to him remember seeing him quietly scribbling in an old leather-bound book while sitting on the couch. Since he left, no one has seen that diary. An actor friend of Hackman's who worked with him on several movies told his son that if Gene kept a journal, it would go off because he was a man of few words, but a mind that was always working. He saw things that others didn't, and if he wrote it all down, someone somewhere holds the key to his true thoughts. Hackman and Betsy Araki had been together since 1991, and in Outsiders they seemed like the perfect couple. There was a Hollywood star and a kind woman who stood by her husband, but what was really going on in their relationship behind closed doors in their Santa Fe home? Neighbors said they were a private couple who kept the public at bay, and a former housekeeper told people they were close, but not in the usual way. There was attention and unspoken talk. When they talked, it seemed like Jean was always holding something back. Some sources even say Hackman may have had certain concerns about Betsy. He reportedly kept a tight grip on their finances and kept her out of his personal life. There were rumors that in his later years he became more wary of everyone, even his own wife. If that lost diary really exists, it might contain Hackman's most private thoughts on his marriage. Did he truly love Betsy until the end? Or was there something he never dared say except on those secret pages? Hackman quit Hollywood in the early 2000s, choosing to leave the movie business behind. Hackman refused interviews, skipped major events, and mostly disappeared from public view. A close friend of Hackman said he had lost faith in Hollywood and thought it had changed into something unrecognizable. In a rare interview, Hackman said, "Hollywood isn't the same anymore. It's a different world, and I don't belong there." One source even said Hackman thought he was being watched and kept his doors tightly locked, letting only a trusted few inside. People who knew him later in life noticed that he had become very careful, as if something were weighing on his mind. If that missing diary is real, it could explain these obsessions. What did he see in the movie business that made him never want to go back? What Hollywood secrets could he only tell on paper? Did he ever feel betrayed by people he trusted in the business? The biggest question that still needs to be answered is who has Hackman's diary? 3 possibilities come to mind. The Hackman family happened behind the scenes in Hackman's last year. He cut ties with the Hollywood crowd. He skipped major events, turned down work from famous directors, and drifted away from old industry friends. Some think he saw something that made going back unthinkable. Could his death be connected to these buried secrets? A scary theory came to light. Did Hackman know something he shouldn't have? And if so, did it play a role in his departure? Hollywood has had insiders expose major scandals before, but not everyone makes it. Those who stood up to the industry's power players often met bleak ends, with their careers being ruined or even disappearing mysteriously. One detail stands out. The Hackman family went to great lengths to keep the autopsy report from being made public. This led to more suspicions that something wasn't right with his death. If it was a simple death, why the desperate secrecy? After Hackman's death, Hollywood's response was strangely muted, with no grand tributes from top directors or heartfelt essays from co-stars. People who used to call him a titan of talent didn't say anything when a former co-star in a classic movie said, "Gene was different, he knew too much." And sometimes knowing too much isn't a good thing. This was a loaded statement. It's as if the industry agreed not to talk about Hackman after he left. This silence only raises more questions about what really happened. Current theories connect Hackman to Hollywood's shady underbelly and an unrevealed scandal. Some people think Hackman knew about a huge cover-up that could rock Hollywood. It might involve powerful people who wanted to keep it a secret. The contents of the lost diary. As we already said, rumors say Hackman wrote down everything he knew in that missing diary. If this is true, someone may have hidden or destroyed it, erasing Hackman's legacy. Another theory suggests a quiet campaign to lessen his influence. The lack of tributes could be a sign of a planned effort to let him fade. Hackman once said in Hollywood, "Hollywood tells stories, but it also buries them." That statement has never felt more true. It looks like Gene Hackman's story might be one of those buried. What really happened? What did Hackman know that he kept quiet for years? Is someone still trying to hide what he saw? We may never know. Or maybe one day someone will find that lost diary chapter. Chapter 5, A Death Too Convenient. The truth is buried deeper than any grave. When news of Gene Hackman's death, when news came out that Hackman and Betsy Arakawa had died, everyone was shocked. What made people even more skeptical was how tightly every detail of the event was controlled. From the initial findings to family statements, everything seemed to be kept secret in a way that didn't make sense. The autopsy report was kept secret, investigation files were sealed, and even photos of the crime scene were blocked. Was this just a normal change of events, or is something more disturbing being hidden? When Hackman and his wife's deaths were first reported, the cause was listed as natural. But early reports showed problems. An anonymous source told the press that the first findings were flawed because there were too many unanswered questions and some details just didn't add up. What were those problems? They included timing and circumstances. Hackman and Betsy were found at the same time and place, both leaving at the same time with no signs of serious illness, which is very unusual. No emergency calls came from their home before they were found. What happened that night is still unknown. According to sources, the autopsy only listed natural causes and didn't explain why both people died at the same time. Forensic experts tried to look into it further but were stopped before they could come to a firm conclusion. There were no warning signs. Hackman was in good health and hadn't had any major illnesses in the past. He still drove and walked every day and didn't seem to be getting worse. Betsy also hadn't been having a health crisis before she died. The family's unusual secrecy and push to hide all death documents raised red flags. If it was a simple death, why the many? Forensic experts said there might have been outside pressure to keep details secret. An anonymous medical examiner told the press that this level of secrecy around an autopsy is not normal. Rumors spread that the autopsy results might have been changed or made up to hide the real cause of the death. Witnesses may have been silenced or pressured to stay quiet. Police and investigators may have been swayed by an unseen force stopping further investigations. These claims haven't been proven, but they add to the mystery of Hackman and Betsy's disappearance. The most extreme theory is that someone was trying to erase Hackman and everything he knew. As was pointed out, Hackman had hinted at knowing Hollywood's dark secrets. He talked about the hidden truth, the powers behind the industry, and how things could be skillfully manipulated. Some people think he planned to reveal what he knew, maybe through memoirs, a lost diary, or an unpublished interview. If this is true, did someone stop him before the truth came out? Some say that Hollywood would do anything to protect secrets, and Hackman may have stepped too close to that line. No matter how much is dug up, this case seems doomed to stay in the shadows. The family won't say anything, the press can't get to the files, and Hollywood plays the issue down, which makes me wonder if the truth will ever come out. Maybe Hackman left a clue we haven't found yet, or maybe Hollywood is just avoiding the issue. If that happens, Hollywood's greatest secret might finally come out. Chapter 6. A trail of vanishing evidence. Some truths are erased before they ever see the light. Soon after news of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakiwa's deaths spread, a strange series of events happened. Hackman's personal papers, letters, and important belongings disappeared. Their Santa Fe home, where they were found, was searched thoroughly, but no clues were found. No photos, notes, or official reports. Who did this and why? Before he died, Hackman had a personal diary and notebook that were thought to contain his thoughts, memories, and possibly unrevealed secrets. He also had private letters and contracts with friends, old co-workers, and even important entertainment figures, as well as papers related to his $80 million estate and deals that might hold sensitive information. Interestingly, after he died, all traces of these items disappeared, and someone close to the family thinks they were thrown away. His office used to be full of notes, letters, and scripts, but now it's empty. No theft was reported, and there are no signs of break-ins. No one knows who took these things. The house where Hackman and Betsy spent their last years quickly became a source of interest. Police investigated, but strangely nothing came up. No photos of the scene were released, and no detailed findings from the house were made public. No outlet was able to get investigation details from an anonymous investigator. Shared with the press that we were expecting to find personal records, letters, and maybe even unfinished scripts, but it seemed like the house had been cleaned of all the important things before we got there. This brings up a very important question. If Hackman had died naturally, why would someone want to erase every trace? Another strange fact is that the home security cameras did not record anything from the night of the incident, and neighbors did not hear any strange noises. If no one was in the house that night, this makes people wonder, did Hackman possess something so important that it had to be erased after his death? The family's actions after the incident only raised public suspicion. Instead of cooperating with police or media inquiries, they stomped on them and refused to speak to the press. They also asked the courts to seal all Hackman documents, making it impossible for anyone to get information. An old friend of Hackman said that Gene was private, but even he wouldn't want his whole life erased like this. Theories abound that something is wrong. The Hackman family knew he had dangerous information and is trying to protect his reputation. The missing documents have information they don't want the public to see, and they've been told to stay quiet by someone outside of the family. No one knows the real answer, but it is clear that everything connected to Hackman is being erased on purpose. With key documents gone, his story is now made up of rumors, controlled details, and a picture with too many gaps. Will someone find a clue, or will it all stay buried forever? It's getting harder and harder to find the truth. Hackman once said in an old interview in Hollywood that the truth is a script that never gets produced. Maybe his story was just that, a truth that was erased before it could be told. Chapter 7, The Legacy That Haunts an Untold Truth, is a ghost that never rests. Gene Hackman is dead, but his ghost lives on in unanswered questions, mysteries, and most of all in that lost diary, whose whereabouts are unknown. It's a harsh but chilling truth that some truths are too dangerous to speak, and sometimes those who know them are forced into eternal silence. Who has the diary, and what will happen if it turns up? Hackman left behind more than an $80 million estate. He left behind a legacy that is too complicated to unravel. His career was legendary, but his secrets are even scarier. His family won't talk about his death, and his papers have disappeared without a trace. The media is tightly controlled and can't get to the truth. Most importantly, his diary has been nowhere to be found. An anonymous source says Hackman always carried a small notebook with him where he wrote down thoughts, important conversations, and memories he didn't want to forget, but no one has found it since he died. If that diary is real, it could change everything. If it's out there, where is it? And more importantly, who holds it? The Hackman family might have hidden it to protect his privacy. The diary might contain private information from Hackman's last years that they wouldn't want made public, a mysterious force. Or, if someone took it after Hackman died, they might have done so to keep his knowledge hidden. A Hollywood insider said Gene knew things that could ruin people, and now he's dead, and so is everything he wrote. Investigation reporters have the wildest idea that someone found the diary and is holding it like a time bomb. Police looked into the case but were stopped or abruptly left out of it. Is someone waiting for the right time to reveal the truth, or were they silenced before they could? If Gene Hackman's diary comes out one day, it will cause a huge change. It will reveal the truth about his marriage to Betsy Arakiwa. Were they really happy, or was it all a show? Did Betsy know his secrets? Why didn't he update his will after 2005? Hackman hinted at the IND's dark side. If the diary details this, it could ruin many reputations. If the diary has sensitive information, could someone have stepped in to keep it secret? Are the missing Santa Fe evidences connected to it? One thing is for sure, if the diary becomes public, the fallout won't be easy. Hackman once said, "You can run from the past, but it always finds a way back." Maybe his legacy will stay a mystery, or maybe someone will find that diary one day, and when they do, the truth will no longer be buried.